Hi everyone, so I'm back with another read and wrap up. This is a read and wrap up for April. So I haven't actually counted how many books I have read, so I will do that now. $20 books. Be thankful I wasn't doing 30 books in 30 days. I've read 20 books in April. So this will be a long one. A mix of Kindle and physical, mostly physical. So yeah, and we're just going to get started. So, part of my read it all on Holic kind of piles that I have in my room, this one came from it. This is Tessa Bailey's Need Me from the Broke and Beautiful collection? It's not a makeup brand. Series. So this is about a young university student, I think. Yeah, called Honey Peribo, who traded her cowboy boots for stilettos and left a small town in Kentucky to attend Columbia University. And she never expected to find a dirt cheap apartment or two new best friends. She's no stranger to hard work, and her sole focus is a medical degree. That's until she sees the newly minted Professor Ben Dawson, and her concentration is hijacked. So it's a student teacher. I'm going to try and angle this better. I just had it at like the perfect angle and then I've just ruined it. So that's great going. This is a teacher-student relationship. So this is the second in this series. I don't have the first, which I think is Chase Me. The second is Make Me. I don't know whether I'll read the others. But we'll see. So I gave this one a 4-star. So I like how this one was a teacher-student relationship, but it's less of the forbidden kind. It gave like a new creative spin on the taboo trope. And it was nice to actually see Ben mess up completely. But he wanted to do anything to fix it and like prove how much he actually wanted her. And it's exactly how men should be. And you could actually feel like Honey's paying through the writing, but easily understand Ben's perspective on everything. So this was a really good romance. It's my first of Tessa Bailey's romances as well. So I read that. Then I moved on to Somewhere in the Crowd by Katrina Logan. So this is set in Eurovision. And it's about Millie. So Millie is a young girl who loves Eurovision due to her grandparents finding love at Eurovision. And it's like the one night she can let her hair down, throw on some glitter, step outside of her comfort zone. So her and her best friend James go to the live final. And they want to go backstage. They end up meeting a German singer called Ingrid and an Australian backpacker called Noah. And they spark this friendship with them, and they spend like 12 years going to Eurovision with them. I only gave this one 3 stars because the characters just spent a whole while underdeveloped. Given that this spans over 12 years, they should have been more developed. It's a very repetitive story, and after the first few years of where you actually get excited to follow them through Eurovision, barely anything actually happens. And then they fall out over the petty things. So it really wasn't all that it was actually cracked up to be. So this is an unhaul. And it was from that Read It All on Holic kind of pile thing. On the shelf it, I'll scrap it because technically I shelved this and pulled that one out kind of situation. And then I read the second in the Wizard of Oz series, which is called The Marvelous Land of Oz by L. Frank Baum. So this is after escaping the evil witch Mombi, Tip and his friends set out to the Land of Oz to meet the Scarecrow, the ruler of the Emerald City. However, General Ginger and her army of revolt have seized power. And it'll take more than the soldiers with the green whiskers to return the throne to its rightful owner. But who is the true heir of Oz, and where in the world can they be? So you meet Jack, the Pumpkinhead. He's really sweet, and it's a really sweet story. The Wizard of Oz, I have loved it since I was a kid. There's so much involvement with the classic characters, and so many like cute illustrations like that, and not actually that many in here. It's just like a nice quick read. Yeah, I do love it. I give this one 4 stars. I have them all. I've not read them all though, making my way through them slowly. Then I read Ward D by Frida McFadden. So I read this one on my Kindle. I really want a copy of this. This has to be my favourite Frida McFadden book I have ever read. So this is about a medical student who spends the night locked on a psychiatric ward. She actually dreads working on this ward. It's a very specific reason why she never wants to do this required overnight rotation. But you only find that out deeper into the actual book. So this is her worst nightmare. And I gave this one 5 stars. It's a very fast-paced thriller. And it actually toes the line between reality and insanity. And you have to try and figure out who's sane, who's not, out of all this huge cast of characters. So you kind of sat on the edge all the time, especially with working out whether Amy is actually sane herself. It's not the best representation of mental illness out there, it really isn't. But it's actually the reality of what people believe mental illness to be, not the best representation of it. So it makes a bit more sense. And it's one of the very few modern thrillers that I would reread. Then I moved on to The Notebook by Nicholas Sparks. I read this for the first time when I was 14 or 15. So this is about Noah Calhoun, who has returned from the Second World War. And he's attempting to escape the ghosts of the battle by restoring an old plantation home to its former glory. And he meets a girl and he's haunted by her image that he met her 14 years prior to this. But when these distant memories begin to slide into reality, the passion that has lain is still ignited once more. Though it's so much is in the way, the miraculous force of love refuses to fade. I also watched a film to this and I loved it. So this is 5 stars to me. I think it always will be. It's a very beautifully written novel. It's a story of true love that lasts through the ages, and even through death. The movie was great, but obviously it had a more dramatic edge to it than the book. But the book is actually a passionate love story with a quietness to it. And I think I will forever love this one. So then I thought, I've had this lingering since I read The Notebook. This is The Wedding, this is the sequel. So this is after 30 years of marriage, Wilson is forced to face the painful truth. His wife Jane has fallen out of love with him. So Wilson is the son-in-law to Noah and Allie, who were the original couple in The Notebook. So this is actually mostly devoted to wedding planning than it is about being the sequel to The Notebook, and rekindling the love between Noah and Allie's daughter Jane and her husband in the same way that Noah and Allie did. The Notebook truly never needed a sequel, especially not one that deviates from the focus from what the original story should have been. But the swan analogy was beautiful. Having Allie be included as something more spiritually, something more spiritual was actually quite interesting. I actually do feel sorry for Noah in this, because people think he's delusional because he believes in reincarnation. So this was not really worth it. Just read the Notebook. Then I think I was just kind of going back in time here, because I read Divergent, which I also read for the first time in high school. This is by Veronica Roth. So this is about a society divided into factions, and they're all forced to choose where they belong when they turn to a certain age. So Beatrice Pryor, who's the main character in this, makes a choice that shocks everyone. So she ends up going into... I didn't say what I had actually rated the wedding. Should actually tell you that. I gave the wedding 4 stars. Anyway, because of... Moving on. Back to Divergent. So she has to determine who she's friends with and whether she can trust the man who both threatens and protects her. So, this is a movie cover, by the way. It's actually beautiful. I gave this one 4 stars. It is a great dystopian, but as a standalone, which I'll get on to in a minute. The trials are very well thought out. It's very entertaining. It's enjoyable to read. And the interactions with all the other initiates are cool. There's good character development, especially with Thor and Eric as well. Triss and Thor's relationship is fantastically written, and you get to watch them evolve through this story. And that will swiftly lead me on to... I will talk about Insurgent now. Yes, this thing. Oh boy. Now, I watched the movies as well. I watched the movie to Divergent. I didn't like the second or the third movie. And I gave this one 1 star. I actually DNF this at 18%. As much as I love the first one, it's a standalone. It just is. A standalone with a prequel about Thor. I just can't bring myself to finish this. It's dull. It's so dull. Nothing truly actually happens. Just leave it at the one book. just don't even bother. Ensnared by Tiffany Roberts. I read this on my Kindle. This is a romance between Ketan and Ivy Foster. So an alien and a human. Well, a spider alien and a human. So he spent years as a hunter, now he's the one ensnared in a creature's trap. He did not want to mate, but fate has a different plan when the queen he despises declares her intention to claim him. He retreats into the jungle, and what he finds changes his world. Small, delicate, pale-skinned Ivy Foster is nothing like the females he has known. She's not of his kind at all, yet the moment he sees her, he knows the truth in his soul. She is his heartthread. I gave this 3 stars. It was a great slow-burn romance, but the main plot surrounding the alien queen is just kind of difficult to actually get invested in. The spicy scenes between Ketan and Ivy, the only thing I could think about was that chest-bursting scene in Alien. This is that's a me problem. I watched Alien before I read this. I should have done it the other way around. I should have read this before I watched Alien. I don't think I'll be actually carrying on with this series, because that's all I can think of. But that's a me issue, not the book's problem. Just, that scene. And the character development was great in the world building, but I just can't get past that. That's a really big me issue. Yeah. And then I thought I'd give this a go. Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief by Rick Riordan. So I think everyone and their mum knows what this is. But it's about Percy Jackson, who is half human, half Greek god, is Poseidon's son, basically. I gave this one 4 stars. It's a well-written fantasy based upon Greek gods and their children. However, I think I've actually missed the boat, age-wise. I am 20, nearly 21. I think very much how you would read the Harry Potter series when you're young and you latch onto it, and even when you read it as an adult, you still have that, like, nostalgia for it. That's how you're supposed to read this. I've read this as a 20-year-old for the first time, so I don't have that kind of same enjoyment that people would have. Like, you have with Divergent as well. Like, I read this as a 13-year-old, so I have that latched on nostalgia for the first book. Not the rest of the series, because it's awful. But that kind of thing. I don't have that with this. I mean, I would probably have had the same enjoyment had I read it then. But, yeah, not now. But it does have a great message behind it. I was just kind of expecting a little bit more from it. And that's entirely the age that I am now. So, yeah. I gave it a go, though. It's not a bad book. Might as well... Because I did also read the second one, Percy Jackson and the Sea of Monsters, which I gave this one 3 stars, because it's very similar feeling. I genuinely think I am past the age where you get that feeling from it. But this did have a little bit more action, a little bit more of that Greek myth that you get from it. But still, there's not enough for me to actually carry on finishing the series. But I did, at least I can say I've tried them. Then I read Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel. So this is I don't know what it is. Literary thriller? Anyway, it's about a famous actor that dies on stage while performing in King Lear. So got some Shakespeare in there. And at that same evening, there's a deadly virus that touches down in North America, and the world will never be the same again. There's a character, Kristen, who's a travelling actress who travels with the Travelling Symphony and performs Shakespearean settlements that have grown since the collapse of the world. So it has some gripping moments. It's a 3-star. It was written kind of sloppily, though, and the characters were only partially developed at the best of times. Though I did like the Shakespearean references. And it does show how art still matters even during a pandemic kind of state. So it was worth the read. Then we move on to... Everything's kind of slid backwards. The Final Girl Support Group by Grady Hendrix. So this is the first Grady Hendrix book I have ever read. So this is about Lynette Tarkington, who survived a massacre at 22 years ago. And it has defined her ever since. Every day of her life. And she's not alone. For more than a decade, she has been meeting with 5 other final girls and their therapist in a support group for those who survived the unthinkable, putting their lives back together piece by piece. That is until one of these women misses a meeting and her worst fears are realised. Someone knows about the group and is determined to take their lives apart again. So the aspect of, like, the final girls support group, like the final girls in horror movies that kind of are at the end, who, like, fight back, defeat the killer kind of idea. Like, Laura's character in Terrifier, if you've seen that. That's a terrible reference. But there we go. I don't know how many of you actually watch my channel that watch horror and have actually seen the Terrifier movies. But this is a 4-star. This is a great book, actually. I love this. It's also mixed media. I'm doing this with one hand because my phone is like dying. There you go. Newspaper clippings and things like that are in here. So it's rare to get actually a closer look at the psychological impact of these kind of horrific crimes. which I suppose you don't really want to look at, but some people do. What or who they actually leave behind. And Grady Hendrix did this really well. You did it in a stylish way as well. That leaves you wanting more. It's fast-paced, thought-provoking, but it's actually hard to say a lot without trying to give anything away. Some more like things, and they've like created movies based on some of these girls, not literally in the plot of this. Yeah. Then we move on to the books I can't say anything about. Where's the other one gone? It's gone right behind me. So, this is for one of my celebrity book recommendations lists. So I read The Rum Diary by Hunter S. Thompson. I gave this 2 stars, but I can't say anything more about it. And then these 4 here, the video is actually already up. I read for Shakespeare's birthday, so I read Macbeth, which I gave 5 stars. If you want the actual full reviews, go and watch my What I Read for Shakespeare's Birthday 2025 video. I read As You Like It, which I gave 4 stars. This is a different copy to the one I actually read. Bought myself a new flash copy. I read Hamlet, which I gave 5 stars. And I read King Lear, which I gave 5 stars. The last 2 books that I read in April, I read on my Kindle. So I read The Simple Guide for Women with ADHD. I read this 4 stars. It was a very educational read. It has useful strategies to help manage the symptoms of ADHD. And it is written in a way that is just easy, informative to digest. You'll get why I'm reading these in a second. I'll explain with the next one. That was it was quite fascinating actually. The second one I read was the 101 Adult ADHD Symptoms by Jack Everly. Again, this one 4 stars. This book kind of actually felt like a bit of a slap, and not gonna lie, but in like the good sense. Some of the stuff that was mentioned just kind of lined up with certain things that I have experienced. I've kind of only just begun to connect some of the dots recently, in the past couple of months, so, you know. But obviously I know as female and adult, you got pretty much no chance of a diagnosis, so it's difficult, but it did feel a bit like a slap in the face, that one. But it was still good. I gave it 4 stars as well. It was pretty informative, and yeah. So I hope you enjoyed this. Oh, you can see my new ghost friend down here, my new Doctor Who buddy as well, with my Build-A-Bear there as well. Just thought I'd introduce you to them. They are there. They will be in the background in the foreseeable future. I do have I have actually had more books come in. I'm waiting for the Evernight, but you may get a book haul before that. It's depending on what comes in, what doesn't. But yeah, so I hope you enjoyed this long book wrap up. That's what I was looking for. And I'll see you next time. Bye.